caught my mom cheating. I share an iCloud account with my mom, and one day, I went on, recently deleted, to retrieve a photo I accidentally trashed, and I came across selfies of her and a man I had never seen before. At the time, she was visiting our home country for about a month, while my father, sister, and I were not. I also found a screenshot of text messages that sounded flirtatious, but this was in our native language, which I'm not fluent in. So I thought maybe I misread the texts and ignored it. A couple of weeks later, I had this intuition to check the recently deleted album, and Lord behold, I found more photos of just my mom and the same man. I told my sister and she agreed that it was suspicious, but we did not have enough evidence, so I decided to wait until she came back. The day after she returned, I checked her phone while she was showering. Her password has been the same for years, so that's how I unlocked the phone. To my absolute horror, I found nudes of my mother, wanted to stab my eyeballs out. I was shocked because my immediate and extended family are religious, and I always thought of my mother as pious because that's her whole persona and how she presents herself. This is the same woman who would not let me and my sister use tampons because it's impure. Meanwhile, homegirl is out here taking nudes for a man who isn't her husband. I also found more text messages with the mystery man and took photos from my cellular device of her phone screen with the texts on full display, and I temporarily recovered the nudes and airdropped them to my phone before deleting them again. I have always had a tumultuous relationship with my mother because she was mentally and to a lesser extent, physically abusive to her children, and she's a narcissist who prioritizes herself over everyone and everything. However, I never thought she would stoop so low to cheat on my dad, who is the main breadwinner of the family, with another man, especially because he has a wife and kids. I confronted my mom about the affair, while my dad was at work, and it turned into a screaming match. I poured, not boiling, water on her and she stormed out of the house. She complained about my behavior to my dad, but the reasoning my mom told him was about me having a bad attitude for no practical reason and not the actual reason: her infidelity. I got scolded by my dad, but I kept my mouth sealed because I did not want to tell him about the affair. I pitied him because he works 12+ hours in a hot factory almost every day, and he even went out of his way to cook healthy food for my mom to eat because she's diabetic, tidied their room, and washed the blankets, so that she would come home to a clean house. My mom kept complaining about me to my dad, even though I tried to avoid her after our fight, and a part of me thinks she did this because she wanted my dad to scold me and side with her. Also, she knew I was going to accept the scolding without saying anything because I told her that I was not going to be the one to tell him about the affair. My mom was also furious that I told her oldest sister about her infidelity. I only did this because I'm the closest to her emotionally and geographically on her side of the family, and I needed advice on what to do. Eventually, I had enough of my dad scolding me when I barely even interacted with him and my mom on a daily basis, and he threatened to stop helping me pay for school, $6,000 per year private school, which was the agreement we made in exchange for me to stay in state and help him run his factory. My argument with my dad turned physical, which has rarely happened in the past, and this surprised me because he was the more stable and nurturing parent. At this point, I was angry and had enough of both of their bullshit. I yelled back that he's dumb for fighting with his daughter over a woman who cheated on him. I even showed him all of the photographic evidence that I had, and he still told me that he did not believe me. My dad thinks I photoshopped the screenshots like, dude, I took photos of her phone screen. My mother also denied that it was an affair because according to her, there was never any direct physical contact. Fast forward to today. My parents are still together and they pretend that nothing ever happened. I still barely interact with either of my parents, but when I do, it's cordial and not hostile. I think my parents feel guilty for whatever reason because I randomly found a gift card from Starbucks at my desk and they sent me allowance money, which is unusual for them to do. They can send as much allowance they want because I don't give a flying fuck, and their asses are going straight to the retirement home when they're old and senile. Conclusion. If anyone is experiencing a similar situation, I sympathize with you, and honestly, I'm not opposed to telling the parent who got cheated on, but not all situations are the same. Every family dynamic is different, and I suggest taking that into consideration before making a decision.